The United States Air Force dropped its most powerful non-nuclear bomb in a remote Afghan province in 2017. Officially, they were said to have attacked a key insurgent stronghold in the area, but there were rumors of something else going on before the bombing. This is the genuine story. Royal Air Force pilots Kate and Johnson are flying over Afghanistan on their way home when they are suddenly attacked by an insurgent group and their planes are destroyed. Both pilots eject their seats. And when they crash land, Kate dreams of her mother and son while clutching her locket containing a photograph of them. Johnson wakes Kate up seconds later and tells her to play dead while he turns to fire on the insurgents. Unfortunately, he is quickly killed, so when a man approaches Kate, she pulls out her own gun, kills him, and uses him as a shield to kill the others. She then bids Johnson farewell before gathering as many weapons as she can and searching for a safe haven. She also tries unsuccessfully to contact her base via radio. Kate sees trucks approaching her and decides to enter a bunker area with a sign in Russian that she can't read because one of the insurgents is actually alive and calls for backup. The doors are chained, and before Kate can try to open them, the insurgents arrive and open fire, forcing her to hide in order to shoot back. After a few shots are fired, one of the insurgents launches a missile that hits the doors and opens them, allowing Kate to sneak inside. The insurgents are closing in on her, but the elevator is broken, so Kate must carefully descend a set of stairs to reach a deep underground area. She discovers more Russian signs and a slew of beds, but also a row of gas masks and the body of what appears to be a scientist. There are strange notes in Russian on a desk, as well as a pen drive, which Kate decides to take with her. The insurgents also come down and discover everyday items such as a mess hall, indicating that the people who used to live here left quickly. They also discover a body on a bed deeper into the bunker. They eventually find Kate, who flees to safety as the insurgents turn on the lights, revealing a series of pods with humanoid shapes inside. Kate uses their distraction to knock a man out and open fire with his weapon. As the insurgents fire back, one of the pods ruptures, allowing one of the humanoids to fall to the ground. Then Kate notices the drains and flees through them, prompting all of the insurgents to follow her except for one who stays to investigate the strange creature. This strange monster isn't as sleepy as it appears, and when the man turns around, the creature kills him. Another insurgent finds Kate and orders her to stop while his friend searches for the missing man, only to find the creature feeding on him. Kate eliminates her adversary by throwing a flare at him, then begins climbing the stairs while shooting anyone who gets in her way. One of the men grabs Kate's ankle and she can't shake him off, but then the monster appears and kills the guy, allowing a terrified Kate to flee. The monster catches up to her and hurts her abdomen as she approaches the doors, but Kate slips away just in time to push the monster back with a few bullets and close the door with the chains. Outside the bunker, an insurgent named Kabir awaits his team, but as soon as he hears the monster, he flees. Kate starts walking through the desert, only stopping to apply pain medication. When she reaches the road, she is hit by an American Army truck, which is looking for the missing pilots after discovering the crash site. Corporal Jade checks Kate to make sure she's telling the truth about her identity and steals her locket before Sergeant Hook promises to look after her. The group returns to the base in the morning, and Kate meets with Major Finch, the commander. He doesn't believe Kate's story, even if Hook backs her up, but he does accept the pen drive. Finch calls his superiors after Kate leaves the tent to report unusual activity in the area. He also hesitates to open a letter. While the other soldiers bring Kabir in for questioning, Kate approaches Jade to reclaim her locket. Jade denies having it, resulting in a fight that lasts until Hook orders Jade to return the locket. Hook then explains that this team is made up of outcasts. Jade is a kleptomaniac, Dr. Wilkes was an addict, and Finch lost a better position because he took the blame for a mistake Hook made. Next, Kate visits Wilkes to have her wound examined, and Wilkes admits that it does not appear to have been caused by a bullet. Kabir is also in that tent, but when Kate asks him to back up her story, he doesn't respond, implying that he doesn't understand her. The other soldiers are perplexed as to how a bunker could exist that is not visible on satellite images. So Kate explains that it is very hidden and proceeds to use her photographic memory to write the signs she saw in Russian. Suddenly, Kabir reveals he does speak English and Russian too, and explains the sign says don't enter. He also confirms Kate's story for the first time. The other soldiers are perplexed because, if the bunker is Soviet, it must be around 30 years old, and nobody can survive that long without new supplies. Those pods must keep the creatures in a state of dormancy. Another creature breaks its pod and begins to open the bunker door. When night falls, Everett joins Jade on the night watch, while the other soldiers learn that they'll be out for 3-hour shifts because trouble is on the way. Finch finally opens his letter and learns that his superiors have asked him to resign. Furious, he makes a phone call and learns that the higher-ups want the contents of the pen drive, but he refuses to send it until he receives an explanation, and hearing the truth shocks him. Meanwhile, Kate and Wilkes question Kabir, who claims he did not shoot anyone. He's just a driver who joined the insurgents to protect his family. Hook checks on his troops and dispatches a private to relieve Everett. However, as soon as Everett turns around, he hears a noise and discovers the soldier has vanished, leaving only some blood behind. Jones and Bromhead also hear a noise and, upon checking, discover that a swarm of monsters has entered their base. While Kate wonders if the monsters have tracked her, the entire team rushes into position and opens fire. Hook alerts Filch to the situation, and Filch attempts to summon help, but the radio tower is destroyed by the monsters. Because the beasts are extremely powerful and bullets do not harm them, soldiers begin to be injured or killed, beginning with Everett. Wilkes leaves the tent to provide medical attention after telling Kate to stay and keep an eye on Kabir. A monster enters the medical tent seconds later and uses its long tongue to capture Kate. But luckily Kabir finds a machete in a chest and uses it to kill the beast. Then he hands Kate a gun and runs outside, but the soldiers immediately grab him to keep him guarded, believing he was attempting to flee. Wilkes goes to rescue Kate and brings her to the safe spot where everyone is gathered, so Hook takes advantage of the opportunity to request cover in order to go save Finch with Wilkes. At that moment, another monster enters Finch's tent, ignoring all bullets to strike the Major. Finch is about to be killed when Hook and Wilkes arrive and shoot the creature, distracting it long enough for Finch to grab a bat and smash it to death. Outside, the group discovers a container in which to hide, but Bromhead must work on picking the lock because they lack the key. When Hook and Wilkes bring Finch with them, one of the monsters attacks them, so the soldiers open fire, and Kate jumps on it with the axe, having realized the creature's weak spot is its mouth. There are still more creatures on the way, so the trio hides in the container and decides to wait until morning to see what happens. The soldiers are suspicious of Kabir, but when Kate points out that he saved her life, Kabir finally tells them what he knows. He hadn't even been born when the Russians invaded, and his village knew war was coming because a star had fallen to earth and shook the ground. Kabir learned to fight from his father, and by 1988, Afghan forces had begun to turn the tide. His village had hope until one day when people began to vanish in the middle of the night, and sometimes in the morning they would find bodies that appeared to have been attacked by a bear. His father considered hunting this animal, but the attacks ceased as soon as the Soviets withdrew. The village lost 46 people, and Kabir's father was never found. The group leaves the container the next morning, only to discover that their friends' bodies have vanished. Wilkes examines a dead creature and discovers that its teeth are in rows and retractable, similar to shark teeth, and that its skin is thick enough to function as body armor. The creature is melting because it can't stand sunlight, so there's goo on the table. Wilkes has to use a drill to look inside because the skin is so tough, and he's shocked to discover the creature has human organs. Finch finally decides to come clean and apologizes to Kate, explaining that the bunker has always been known to the higher-ups. The star Kabir's people saw was actually a starship, and the Soviets invaded Afghanistan only to retrieve it. The war had been a ruse. The aliens were used in experiments, and the creatures were created by fusing alien and human DNA. There's an army of them in the bunker, and they only sent a few last night to learn the team's weaknesses, so they'll most likely return tonight. Escaping is impossible because they don't have enough fuel and would be discovered by the insurgents anyway. Their conversation is cut short when the beast on the table awakens. It grabs Kate again with its tongue, putting her in a trance and pushing Kabir and the soldiers away when they try to stop it. Finch grabs a grenade and jumps on the beast to kill it, completing his voluntary discharge as requested by the letter. Following that, the soldiers finally release Kabir's hands because witnessing him fight has earned their trust. Kate is dizzy and admits that when the creature touched her, it felt like it was draining her mind, most likely in order to learn their strategies. But she has an advantage. She knows where their nest is. Kate, Hook, Jade, Wilkes, Jones, and Bromhead are the only soldiers left. But there are enough to bomb the bunker, and Kabir asks to accompany them because he wants to avenge his father. When they arrive at the bunker, they throw the bomb inside and leave to detonate it, but Kate drops her locket, prompting Hook to return to retrieve it. This allows a monster to seize him and drag him down into the hole. The team believes they've lost their leader and prepares for the detonation, but Hook unexpectedly contacts them via radio to confirm he's still alive. He does not want the team to return for him, and the team agrees, but Kate persuades everyone by pointing out that Hook would have done the same for them. Wilkes stays in the truck to help the team push and pull the broken elevator. But as soon as they reach the bottom of the bunker, Wilkes receives a worrying message over the radio. There will be a missile strike in 20 minutes, and they probably got the location from the tracker on the truck. Because they don't have much time, the group decides to split up to cover more ground faster. Meanwhile, Hook discovers a beast in the same room as him and is soon attacked by its tongue, which he distracts by biting before killing it with his knife. After that, he discovers all of his friends' bodies and manages to steal some of their weapons. As the team searches for Hook, Kabir discovers the bodies on the tables and realizes they are the missing people from his village, who most likely became creatures later. Kate discovers a pod on the wall she hadn't noticed before, and when she turns on the light, she discovers the original alien still alive and floating around. Hook then exits the room and asks Kate for directions over the radio, only to be interrupted by another monster. He runs fast enough to join his team in killing the beast by shooting at its head, but this leaves many of them without ammunition. Meanwhile, outside, Wilkes is suddenly surrounded by insurgents, forcing him to open fire and defend the entrance on his own. The creatures are hatching out of the pods in the bunker, and Kate concludes that they knew they were coming because they read her mind. The team rushes out of the pod room and shuts the door, but the creatures continue to hit it with incredible force, so Jones stays behind to hold the door open so the team can escape. As they run down the corridor, Jade hears a noise that indicates a monster is approaching and decides to stay behind to fight it and protect the team. When the group arrives at the elevator, they realize Jade has vanished, and Hook decides to go back for her after telling the team to leave if he doesn't return in 2 minutes. Jade takes the beast into the mess hall and defeats it after exchanging a few blows, only for a second one to appear behind her. Hook arrives too late. The beast has already killed Jade. Hook begins fighting the creature with whatever tools he can find, while Jones realizes he can't hold the door any longer and lets go before detonating the bomb, taking everyone with him. Hook hears the explosion and runs inside the fridge just as the flames enter the room, killing the beast there as well. More monsters are approaching the elevator, and the team is running out of bullets, so Bromhead begins calling for Wilkes to pull them up. Wilkes is still fighting the insurgents, who are now fighting him hand-to-hand inside the truck. Kate, Bromhead, and Kabir also hear the explosion and seek refuge in the elevator as Wilkes finally kills the enemy and activates the truck. Unfortunately, the elevator is too heavy and pulls the truck down with it, but Wilkes is powerless to stop it as more insurgents arrive and open fire on him. More creatures attack the elevator, and while Kate and Kabir can defend themselves with the axe and machete, Bromhead is killed with his fists. The truck outside continues to advance, forcing Wilkes to move out of the way and watch it fall. When Kabir sees the truck approaching, he tells Kate to exit the elevator while he distracts the creatures. And when the truck finally crashes, he dies along with all the monsters. Wilkes is apprehended by the insurgents, and Hook returns to Kate's side as a monster pursues him. With a quick shot from Hook, both soldiers grab onto the elevator's wires, which quickly lifts them back up. When they return outside, Kate and Hook shoot the insurgents, saving Wilkes just before he is killed. When a plane appears in the sky and drops a missile, the trio pushes a man out of a car and steals it in order to flee the area. The explosion misses them, but it knocks the vehicle off the road, and Kate is convinced that the bombing was carried out by the government in order to destroy evidence. Her theory is correct because, at the time, special agents land on the base to search for any beast bodies, but they leave after only finding Finch's. Kate is unconcerned, however, because she reveals that she has the pendrive containing all of the information, a gift from Jade after she stole it from Finch. They only need to get their vehicle running again.